Spanakopita is a dish that doesn't have that many ingredients, so each one of the ingredients gets prepared very thoughtfully. The basis of Spanakopita is spinach. So don't turn your nose up at this. Spinach is really good. The problem with spinach is kind of like the problem with beets or, I don't know, maybe Brussels sprouts. If you don't have a great first experience, you're pretty much scarred for life. If you're using frozen vegetables, then all you need is 1 box of frozen spinach or 1 bag of frozen spinach. If you're using fresh spinach, use 4 bunches of spinach because they cook down to almost nothing. If you have frozen spinach, what you want to do is get as much water out of it as possible. There's actually a lot of water in frozen spinach, so you're going to let it thaw and you're going to continuously try to wring it out. Either take a kitchen towel like this, a clean kitchen towel, lay it out, put the spinach in it, close it up, and honestly wring it out like a towel and a lot of water will come out. Or what you can do is use a bunch of paper towels. That also works as well. You end up having to scrape some of the spinach off, but that's totally fine. Put that wrung out, dried out spinach into a bowl. If you're going to cook fresh spinach, which is what we did, is you put your fresh spinach into a pan with a little bit of olive oil, start to warm it up, it'll start to wilt down. Put some fresh garlic in there, and also put maybe a little bit of onion if you like. We didn't do that with this one. What we ended up doing is keeping them separate just so we could do it all together. So take your spinach, go ahead and put it into a mixing bowl. Then comes the fun part. You get to start sort of dressing it up and seasoning it. I'm gonna add about 3 cloves of garlic. You can never have too much garlic in my opinion. Don't do this on a date, but I love the garlic. Then fresh parsley. If you don't have fresh parsley, that's okay. You can also use some dried parsley. And I would say you probably wanna put in about 4 teaspoons, like a tablespoon and a teaspoon works as well. Then comes the fresh dill. Oh, it's so lovely. And again, do, I would say, about a tablespoon of fresh dill. And if you're using dried dill, you can use a little bit less than that. And then comes the salt. You don't need to use too much salt. I would say probably put about half a teaspoon of salt in, because what we're also gonna do is put in some feta. The last ingredient are our scallions, our green onions. And when you're cutting them, make sure you cut them relatively thin. No one wants to bite into a large piece of scallion. And what's lovely about this as well is you can use both the white parts of the scallion and the green parts, so you're not wasting anything. And so take 3 scallions and chop them up and go ahead and add those as well. Mix this together, and you'll see it's just a lot of different beautiful types of green. The next thing is you want to create a binder. So remember, we're always trying to find glue. We're trying to find something that's going to keep things together. And the binder in Spanakopita is egg. So take 1 egg, break it, put it into a separate bowl, because you want to sort of beat it up a little bit before you put it into your spinach. So once you've beaten that, I'm gonna add that in, and using a fork, mix it into the spinach. So you can see now it's becoming a little bit more manageable, because when we start filling up our rough puff, we wanna make sure that it's a consistency that's gonna stick inside. My favorite ingredient is feta. So I am using here about 4 ounces, so 1/4 pound of feta. And so feta you can either buy in crumbles or you can buy it in sort of blocks or pieces. It's really a matter of preference. If you want to be super efficient, just get the crumbles and dump them right in. If you want to have a little snack for later, use these pieces. You can make these pieces relatively big. They're going to melt down a little bit, but you don't have to sort of be fussed about big or small. So once you've done that, give your mix just one other good swish, just to make sure everything is evenly distributed. You're gonna be putting these into multiple pockets, so you wanna, again, remember, you don't wanna be the sad person that doesn't get any feta. Okay, great. So now that we have the mix, we're gonna roll out our dough, cut it into pieces, and make them into folds. The first thing that I wanna do is square it off. If it looks almost straight on one edge, you can just kind of like push it in a little bit. But if you have a little bit of hanging over pieces, just square them so that you can increase the likelihood that you're gonna have straight lines. We're gonna put 9 squares here. So I'm just gonna eye it, because sometimes the ruler is just about as good as your eye, and I'm gonna score it. And scoring simply means you're just putting a really light line on top of the surface to give you in a direction of where you need to go when you're actually cutting. So it just makes it a little bit easier long term. And also, if you score it and it's not straight, you haven't committed to a cut, so you can always go back and change it a little bit. What's that phrase? Measure twice, cut once. It's a good one. This is a sizing that I just chose, and honestly, it's arbitrary. So if you decide you want something bigger, you can do something larger. If you decide you want to do something smaller, I might caution against going too much smaller, because you remember, you want to have a nice ratio of dough to filling. The next thing, once we have all of our pastry cut, is to do the glue. So take the egg wash, clean silicone brush, and put some glue onto it. So you're taking the egg wash, which is 1 egg with about a tablespoon of water. Again, you can use dairy if you'd like. You can put a little heavy cream in there as well instead of the water. It's really a matter of preference. I like using water because it thins it out a little bit and it just makes it easier. You're not looking for a really thick layer here. You're just really looking for something that's gonna sort of encourage the dough to seal to itself. The next step is to put the filling on top of each one of the squares. Because we're going to fold them in half, because we're going to make little triangles out of them, you want to make sure that you only fill half of each one of your little squares. So you're going to put it kind of in one area like that. Take your square and you want to fold it into a triangle. So take the end that doesn't have the filling, and you want to pull it up and then slowly seal it. So you can see that I was a little bit ambitious with how much filling I put in. That's okay. Just seal it, and if a little bit sticks out, we can pull it out later. Or now. Then you can also, which one of the things that I love to do is sort of seal it up and then make it into a pocket and then pull. You can pull the dough. Remember, your dough is very malleable and it's very forgiving and very interested in making you happy. So you've got the dough, you've got it sealed up. And then another way to seal it is you want to take a fork and actually just make a little bit of a border. Here we go. So that's our first one. We go into the next one. Same thing. This is a little bit less of a square, a little more of a triangle. I'm not mad about that, because all that means is somebody gets a little bit more dough. So remember, there's a lot of butter in this dough. And with a lot of butter comes a lot of water, because there's a lot of water in butter. And the high temperature that we're cooking these will cause all of that water to evaporate and make steam, and that's how you get your layers. But if you don't give it a steam escape, like a little slit of some kind, then it's all gonna kind of like cook inside, and it's gonna be kind of watery and a little bit unhappy. So the goal is your food should be very happy, and for it to be happy, we need to give it a steam escape. Take a sheet tray prepared with a piece of parchment paper or with a silpat, depending on what you have or what you prefer. I love the idea of having reusable things in the kitchen. We go through so much paper and plastic in our lives. If there's any way that we can reduce that, we try to. Give the edges one more quick seal if they're trying to make a run for it. And then once you've done that, egg wash. This is just gonna go very lightly across the top. And then we're going to make the steam escape. Take a sharp knife when you do that, because remember, this is a dough that's gonna be a little bit soft at this point because we've been working with it for a while. And just give it a quick little incision. Doesn't have to be too big. If you want, you can also make a design. You can make a little X or something like that if you prefer. And then the final step is, remember, we're seasoning every layer, just a tiny little bit of fleur de sel. This is really more for effect than anything else. Remember, it's not gonna melt, which I love, and it's gonna give you a couple little crispy kernels of crunch and sort of brightness when you're biting into the Spanakopita. Once they've been totally prepared, put them in the oven at 375-degree convection or 400 degrees regular oven for anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes. Keep an eye on them. Again, everyone's oven is different. You don't need to cook it for that long for the internal temperature to be okay. What you're really trying to do is get that puff and get that beautiful golden brown color. Just a pretty light golden brown, like day 1 or day 2 of your vacation, not like 1 weekend in the Bahamas, okay? These are our Spanakopita. It's very warm, and you can see all these beautiful layers. It's just so luxurious and beautiful and decadent. It's just amazing. The outside is just golden brown, inside's completely cooked through, and you can see that that little steam escape, that little steam slit, has done its job. All right, you hear that? It's like shattery. It almost sounds like when you eat a croissant. It's just that beautiful shattery texture. The bottom's a little bit crispy. Oh, can't wait. Mmm, so good. Really bright. Sometimes you think it's gonna be really buttery because of the dough, but it's not. It's just the perfect casing for all of the spinach and deliciousness. I promise you, if you don't love spinach, make this, I will convert you. You did it! Now I want to see what you made. Join me on my brand new class on Skillshare. Click the link below. I can't wait to see you there.